What's up, YouTube? American Prepper here. Today I'm going to be talking about some steps on how to get into homesteading and prepping in general, and why you should get into homesteading. In my opinion, it's not always realistic for everyone to, become a homesteader and to get involved, like full-fledged into it. It's not always realistic, but it should be a goal of being somewhat self-sufficient, and you should have a goal of being, somewhat be able to live off the grid and not reliant upon outside sources for your power, your food, etc., etc. So many have that goal of being self-sufficient, but they don't really understand what it really means and how much work it really takes to goes into it. And so yeah, let's get started. Be quiet. Sorry, my dogs are causing a fuss. But so right now, I currently live in the city, and I'm trying to look for properties that I can potentially get started with homesteading, but the price of houses and land right now is outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous, some of the stuff I've been looking at. I couldn't find a decent piece of a house that was not in complete shambles and had like a decent amount of land on it for less than $400,000. And I mean, unless you just want to buy the land in general, you're still looking at pretty expensive stuff. But I'm looking for something that has probably about 10 acres and then has, it doesn't even have to have a really nice house on it, just something that I can build off of. So, step one, you should consider what homesteading involves. Really stop and think what a day-to-day activities and chores will be like if you decide to become a homesteader. It's not cut out for everyone, but taking care of crops and livestock is time-consuming and physically demanding. If you have a spouse or partner, that makes things a lot easier, but you need to make sure they're 100% on board. That's the kind of life you both are looking for. You should sit down and have an open and honest discussion about what you're looking for. If your partner hates the idea of getting their hands dirty, then it's going to be very difficult to get on the same page with that. You should spend hours learning everything you can about homesteading before you decide to make any serious commitment, like buying a piece of property. Step 2, set goals for yourself. So you should start out small with these goals, and taking care of a farm or a homestead is a lot of work. And even in an urban setting, you can start a vegetable garden. In the suburbs, get a few backyard chickens if your city allows it, and begin preserving, canning your own food. So set some goals, maybe 3 to 5 to start, and then make them realistic goals to start, and then you can always advance as you go. Step 3, decide where you want to live. So this can be a tricky one. If you plan to make homesteading your full-time job, which isn't really realistic for everyone, sometimes you're going to need to just do this on the side and have a full-time job. That's what I plan on doing. Quiet! Bilbo! Sorry. You'll need to make enough room to grow all the vegetables and fruit you need, plus space for cows, sheep, or any other livestock you want. In addition to figuring out how much land you need, you also want to set parameters on the general area you want to live in too. I mean, if you don't want to live super ultra remote, then you can live just outside of town with enough land to get all this stuff done. If you're primarily looking to grow crops, the sandy soil, rocky soil will make things a lot more difficult. And you got to factor in travel time. Do you really want to drive like an hour every time you need to pick up something from the grocery store or go to work every day if you still have a job? You got to factor all these things in. Yeah, and another couple other things to keep in mind is water access. I'd recommend having something close by like lakes, rivers. Is there a well on the property? How much rainfall does that area get per year? Land safety. You don't want to live somewhere that's prone to drought, if you're going to be growing your own food. Community is another big one. Sometimes that's just as important as the land you buy. You will need to make friends and network with people in your area. If they have different religious and political views than you, it may be a lot more difficult to fit in the community, especially in a small town. And what about school? If you have kids, is there a school nearby, or are you going to homeschool them? Step number 4, make a budget. Now, this has to be realistic, and this has to be an honest look at what your finances are. Having a thoroughly thought out budget is critical for homesteading, particularly if you're planning to give up a steady job to become completely self-sufficient. You should have quite a bit of money saved if that's your goal. I wouldn't recommend using all your savings just to buy it. You got to have some kind of emergency fund and money left over for renovations, improvements, equipment, and other necessities, and like I said, emergencies. Step number 5, start small. I keep bringing this up, but it's important to have dreams and goals, but it's important to start small and be realistic. And you can just, start small, growing your own herbs or lettuce indoors, and just see how even something as small of a task as that is to you, And then have a fireplace you don't use. These are just some examples that you can do to get used to living more self-sufficient. Get wood, chop wood, start reducing your heating bill. Over time, you can add more and more projects, but just focus on a couple things at a time. Don't be just trying to focus on everything and be all over the place. And the last step is continually simplify your life. There's so many different things you can do to simplify your life. You don't have to go and keep up with the Joneses and all. You can learn to preserve food. It's just, there's so many different aspects to homesteading. Raising livestock, starting a garden, compost, learning to sew and mend, learning how to build and repair. There's so many different things, but it's important to, I feel like, fit in a good community and try to find other homesteaders that are like-minded. And you should definitely consider acreage and property rights and water and all these different things before buying a homestead. And some common homesteading activities are, sustainable energy generation, keeping livestock, preserving, canning, fishing, hunting, maintaining tractors and other equipment, blue collar stuff, chopping firewood, producing milk, cheese, and butter. And I feel like homesteading is a great option, but like I said, it's not for everyone. So just consider all these things before you start and really just think about it. It's not something you should make a decision overnight, but you should think about it I've been thinking about it for years. Yeah, I'm only in my 20s, but I'm saving up money. I'm working really hard to save up my money so I can buy the land, and eventually me and my girlfriend can own the land, and then we can create a homestead. That's my goal, but it's just important to just plan. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to plan out everything and to have a good plan set in place and write everything down. Don't just say it in your head and then forget about it. You should document everything and write everything down so that you have that something to go off of, like documents and stuff. So then you can check off stuff off the list, and it just feels better that way. So in conclusion, I definitely recommend that being your eventual goal, but like I said, figure out if it's for you for sure. Talk to your significant other, spouse, or whatever, and really consider the land you're going to purchase before you actually purchase it. Because once you're stuck in a deal like that, it's hard to get out. So those are my tips and my little guide, I guess. This is what I'm following so I can get eventually my own homestead. I'm pretty close to being there. I'd say about a year out. Hopefully SHTF doesn't go full blown before then. But I'm just trying my best, and that's all you can do. Just save your money, stay out of debt, don't get into stupid debt. I drive an older truck. It's just a work truck. I don't drive a fancy truck. I don't live in a super nice house right now in the city. I live in an apartment. So just save your money, and it's possible. Just takes time. But sometimes, time may be running out. So with that, I'm out.